you another language? Don't you see I'm putting you in new territory? Don't you see that I called you to a new place? I called you to the high place to come out of the low place. He said, don't you see what I'm doing? I'm providing water for you in the place where people said there was no water. He said, even the wild animals have to honor me in this place. He said, don't you see I'm doing a new thing? It used to be a whole lot of rebellion coming against, a whole lot of talk coming out. But he says, now what I'm doing is putting you in a place of honor.
Yes. That's right.
Somebody say honor.
Honor.
See, it's something about being placed in a position of governmental authority. There has to come a level of honor with it. He said, don't you see I'm doing a new thing? I even showed John that I was going to have the heavenly Jerusalem, the new Jerusalem, come down from heaven and dwell on earth. In other words, God says, I got some heavenly things that I want to deposit to you on earth. Some heavenly things I want to deposit to you while you on earth. You don't have to wait till you get to heaven. I want to give it to you while you on earth. There's a new Jerusalem that's coming out of heaven, and it's going to be on earth, and he's going to rule from that place. So God says the blessings that I want to give you, I want to make sure that you don't let that blessing then turn you around so that I can't rule you from that place. Some people can't be blessed.
Come on.
Because when they get the new thing, they want to put God out. So he says, I can't give you the new Jerusalem if you're going to put me out when I give it to you. Somebody say authority.
Authority.
So here's what God is saying tonight. The beauty of the bride is the authority to govern.
Say that one more time.
The beauty of the bride is the authority to govern. The government of God over cities in the earth. And the end time, and the end age, when the new Jerusalem comes down to earth, he says, this is where I am going to rule from. In other words, this is where my government is going to be set up. So if we, the church, are the bride of Christ, he says, I want to rule the earth from my bride, from the place of my authority. In other words, God says, there's territory that I need to rule from you being my bride. I need to be able to celebrate your brideship and have authority and government to rule from your kingdom. I hope we got that. Because God gives us territory and then we rent it out to the devil. God gives us territory and we rent it out to the devil. Well, let's look at what Eve did and Adam did. God gave them the Garden of Eden. He gave them territory, but they rented it out to the enemy. So Jesus had to come back and take it back. So what is it that God is giving us that the enemy is secretly talking to us when we are by ourselves? He's whispering and showing us a different perspective from the way God said it. And we're looking at it the way the devil said it. And now we actually are renting out the territory that God gave us to an enemy that's trying to destroy us. I hope that went deep. The beauty of the bride in our cities. So he says now, you can be a blessing to everywhere you go when you function as a bride of Christ.
Yes.
You can be a blessing to the land. You can be a blessing to the family. You can be a blessing to the job. You can be a blessing everywhere you go when you allow Jesus and the Word and heaven to rule from the place of you being the bride. So collectively, all together, the church is the bride of Christ. I hope everybody got that. That means if the church is the bride of Christ and we are in the church of God, that means we are all his bride. We are the church. Not the building. The people.
So actually going back to what you said, we really have influence over the groom.
We have influence. That's why he listens to us. He advocates for us. He works with us. He works for us. He's always on our side. He's always helping us. He's always there to intercede for us. He's always doing what a husband would do for a wife. He loves us that much. So when we begin to recognize who we really are and the level of influence we have, that means he listens attentively to our voice. He's hearing what we say. It's being written down in a book. And when our words don't line up with the words of God, it's recorded. But when our words line up with God, it's recorded. So when it doesn't line up with who God is, the enemy uses it to accuse us. I hope everybody's getting this. That's why we got to know what the word says. Don't go on your feeling. Don't go on what your sister, brother said, your uncle, your auntie, your grandmama, your granddaddy. Because if they're not saying what God said, you can't go with that.